What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of, well, not indie games. I think this one's by Focus Home Interactive. But anyways, it's been kind of a slow week. There's, not a lot going on. And Hardspace Shipbreaker actually released into 1.0. And a lot of people don't seem to be aware of that fact. And so, anyways, I was streaming the game, and people kept coming through being like, why are you playing this? Did something happen? The game is in 1.0. It's out. It's done. It's finished. If you've never seen Hardspace Shipbreaker before, this is a game where you are a spaceship salvager on a big old station. And so your job is every day, a big ship comes through, and you've got to take it apart. And you've got to do it without dying, getting frozen, electrocuted, burned to death, suffocate, all that kind of stuff. The game makes it abundantly clear that this is a highly dangerous job that you're doing. And in fact, you will die along the way. You will make some mistakes, and those mistakes will get you vaporized. Now, adding a little bit of atmospheric cream to the otherwise filling of the game, you are also working for a dystopian company that puts you crippling, basically an indentured servant. So you are hugely in debt, and the only way to get out of that debt is by salvaging ships, and up until then, you are effectively the property of the company. And so along the way, you're going to be getting a ship, and you're going to be repairing it with stolen parts off the derelicts so that you can basically pay off your debt and escape. Because that's how they keep you on the station, is even if you pay off your debt, you don't really have a way to get out of here because it's cripplingly expensive to go back into Earth's atmo and get off this station. And so anyways, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take it out for probably about 25-30 minutes. I'll probably take you through a full deconstruction of a ship maybe so that you can see what that looks like. This is a game that I think is targeting a very niche audience, but this game hit all the right buttons for me. This is a great game to put on a podcast and basically just disassemble some ships, and there's very much kind of a learning process that happens because each ship is effectively its own kind of death trap puzzle that you've got to figure out how to navigate. If after watching this you did want to get involved with the 1.0, you can look down below in the description. They have finished off the storyline and whatnot. It's a little bit ham-fisted, but I still have been enjoying it, and the voice acting is pretty good. You'll also find a link to my Twitch stream and my Discord down there. I streamed this for about 8 hours on Twitch just in case you wanted to see more, and so I'll try to put the first of the VODs down on in there as a warning for people going over to my Twitch stream. The Twitch stream is not, so this is family friendly content here on YouTube. Over on the Twitch stream, I kind of just speak freely, and I don't really worry about swearing or anything else like that. So it may not be good to show the kids or whatever, but if you wanted to see the game more and you don't mind that stuff, by all means, swing on through and head on over there. Let's go ahead and dive on into career mode. All right, so we awaken inside of our habitat. This is actually a new addition from the last time I played the game. When I played the early access, this wasn't a thing. So we can get up, and every single day it's going to give us little postings and things about stuff that's happening inside the company that we need to be aware of. You have your employee terminal over here. You can answer your emails. You can work on your spaceship. So I've been working on my spaceship quite a bit over here. If you go to the ship doctor. And so anyways, you find parts and you fix up this ship. I'm about halfway done right now. I haven't gotten the whole thing finished off. The game does have a Clippy reference. There is a helper called Shippy that basically walks you through fixing your own craft so that you can get off the station. You can do data recovery on the ship. Sometimes you'll find hard drives. You can basically decontaminate them of radiation and stuff like that and recover the data to get some backstory on the universe. You've got your certification progress over here, which is basically the RPG-style progression from breaking down ships. And then as you level up, you're going to get access to more and more things. Typically, the level ups are used as triggers for the storyline as well. You can customize and decorate your hab with posters and things that you found on ships. I would have preferred that you just be able to freely walk around the hab in first-person mode instead of just kind of moving in between nodes and whatnot, but unfortunately that didn't make it into the final copy. As far as upgrades go for leveling up your character, there are a lot of them. You've got various tools. Each one has probably about 20 or 25 upgrades that you can go through. I'm about halfway into the game right now for this show-off, and so I'm at rank 13 right now, and I think the max rank is 25. And so I'm about midway through the game. I've got some upgrades and things going on. We'll talk about what these tools do a little bit later so that you don't have to worry about it and you understand what's going on. But at the moment, there's not really much for us to do aside from get in there and get our job done. So anyways, let's do it. I was working on this tanker right here, but we'll work on something else. So it looks like we've got the Shippy Gallardo, and this is a big old beefcake. This is a medium class industrial hauler, basically. We've got an orca over here. That's actually easy peasy and not that hard. For whatever reason, it's classed as a hazard level 7, so there must be something going on with it that's a little bit of a worry. There are a number of different ship hulls. From what I can see, there's like 4 or 5 so far that I've seen, and they come in like small, medium, large variants, and they all have internal variants inside those weight classes that also change up the floor plan, and the internals are kind of procedural in a certain number of ways, and so you never quite know what you're walking into with any of these craft. Like, you never quite know. Like, you may have a rough idea of the general layout, but like, sometimes it gets a little bit more hectic than you would think. The Atlantic Shaw. That's a big boy right there. What else we got going on? That's a cargo hauler. We've got ourselves a patrol craft. We've got a tanker over here. Yeah, let's do something big and chonky. How about that? We could do something big and beefy. Let's call it let's do the shippy. Well, that one doesn't have the ion rings, though. The ion rings are always fun to play around with. Oh, that's a tugboat, by the way, in case you're wondering what that is. That one doesn't have the ion rings either. I like the ion rings. Let's do the ion rings. I want to do the one that has the ion rings on it. There we go, and this guy's worth 26 mil. As you can see, I'm over $1 billion in debt right now. That's how much it cost them to fly you out to the station to get this job, and being a dystopian corporation, they don't foot the bill for that. They actually put you in debt for that, and you can't leave until you pay it off. However, if you can manage to pay it off, you can make $10, $15 million a shift. And that's really, I think, how they bait and trick people on coming out here. Let's go ahead and take the Atlantic Shaw over here, and we'll take a look at this thing, and I'll kind of walk you through the way that the game functions. We'll take this first shift really, really slow because you don't really know what's going on. I'm going to refill some of my equipment over here, which is obviously up for sale from the company. I don't know if I was full on demo charges, but we're going to need them. All right. So this is our guy. Basically, anything that's in yellow is going to be a cut point. You can use your laser cutter like so in order to get rid of those if you want to. I find a more effective way to handle this, though, is just with demo charges. Demo charges really ratchet up the fun. So we'll go ahead and knock all these off with demo charges here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and put it... Wait, that bounced off? Oh, dude, where did that go? Oh, he threw it. Sometimes the demo charge placement can be a little bit buggy and weird. Like, sometimes he throws the demo charge instead of placing it, even though you're kind of like inside the sweet spot. It has been a problem. And then the demo charge, it bounces. So that demo charge could really kind of be anywhere right now. So we sort of want to back up a little bit before we light this off. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen. But let me get a few more demo charges put in, and then, you know, I'll invite you back over for the grand finale. Okay, so I've got all my demo charges in place, except for the cryptic missing demo charge, which I'm a little bit worried about what it may have landed on. Something bad might happen here. Light it! Well, I didn't see anything explode or detonate, so I think we might be okay. Let's go ahead and get these cut points off right here. And then we'll take the ion rings off this thing, and we'll put this stuff where it needs to go. I'm taking it really slow right now. Normally, I'm I have a lot of hours in this game. I can take apart a ship real quick. And so anyways, I'm slowing myself down right now just so that I can properly explain everything. So every object on the ship goes somewhere different. You might notice we have a blue portal, we have a red portal, and we have a green portal. Basically, anything that needs to be resold goes in the green portal, and when you mouse over it, it'll tell you where it goes. Whether it goes to the barge, whether it goes to the processor, whether it goes to the furnace. And you will want to keep track of that. This is the grapple gun right here. You can use it to grab things and move them around. And you can also right-click with it in order to attach a tether that will pull it. The tether physics are very intuitive. They're pretty easy to figure out. And in fact, I think that's probably one of this game's greatest accomplishments, is that they made a physics-based kind of towing and moving things around system very tactile. Like, you will figure out how it all works with time, and pretty soon you won't even think about it anymore. You'll just line the angles up just the way that they need to be angled, and you won't even think about it. We can also press the F key with this gun, and it'll give us like a little air gun, basically, that pushes things around like that right there. But anyways, we don't really want to push stuff right now. What is that right there? That's a coolant tank. Oh, that's actually kind of dangerous. I don't love that. Okay, so coolant tanks, they tend to explode every now and again. So we've got one cabin over here that's open. I think I'm going to disassemble this thing. Well, actually, no, the first thing we need to do is we need to detach the thruster. So let's go detach the thruster real quick, because we won't be able to pop the thruster off once the power goes out. So once we disassemble the power grid, that thruster will be locked in place, and it is quite explosive, and there's not really going to be an effective way to recover it. This game does have a pressurization system. I think this is the biggest area where the game could improve. The pressure system is kind of buggy still. 98% of the time, it works. But that 2% of the time, it can be sort of erratic and do things that you didn't want it to do, which frequently leads to you dying horribly. This right here is what we're looking for. We're going to eject the thruster real fast. So there we go. Thruster has been ejected. Ignore the scary sounds that just came up. Nothing bad is happening. Everything is okay. It's just that giant spaceships tend to make scary sounds. They tend to do that when you're taking them apart. However, sometimes those scary sounds actively kill you. So, you know, sometimes pay attention to the scary sounds. There's a rod right there. I'll take that because that's for rebuilding my ship on the in-between. And then we've depressurized this area using the atmospheric regulator. If you don't do this, you are at risk of depressurization explosions, which are really bad, especially when we're next to a nuclear reactor. And so in general, you don't want that to happen where we are right now. But now that we've got this area cleared out of oxygen, we should be able to open up the airlock, and it'll just be open to space now. And we've gotten that taken care of. This right here is the nuclear reactor. That's why my HUD is going all crazy right now, because we're being bombarded with just like hideously toxic amounts of radiation. It comes with the job. You get used to it after a little while. The radiation makes everything taste like cayenne peppers. Let's go ahead and crack this thing open and see if we can depressurize this cabin as well. And then once we've got everything depressurized and we don't have to worry about random areas exploding, we'll be in good shape. Oh, there's a heat sink for our spaceship too. Ooh, and an air filter. Nice. I'll take all of that. Thank you, spaceship. You are my friend. Where's the atmospheric regulator in here? There's an atmospheric regulator right there. Looks like the area is depressurized over here.
Airlock pressurizing.
Okay. So this area is pressurized, but that area is not pressurized. Gotcha. You've also got a scan mode where you can look at the internals of the ship and figure out what's pressurized and what isn't, with X-ray vision, basically. I don't use it very much because I find that a lot of fun in this game comes from the unknown and not knowing exactly how to solve a problem and actually like feeling your way around in the dark in order to get it figured out. Okay, so this area is depressurized, like big time. So we'll want this, since this has the exact same pressurization as space, what we'll want to do is disassemble this little cabin first and work our way inwards, basically. Ooh, new poster. Apparently there's some radio shock jock named Hardy. Good to know. That front canopy is off right there. I think there's another cut point right there. That'll knock off the back wall. So there we go. That piece is going to the processor, but we need to pull this terminal right here and put it into the barge before we do that. With computer terminals and some of the other objects you find inside of a ship, you can destroy them in order to get parts to build your ship in between missions. However, it will cost you money off the value of the ship, and so effectively you are penalized for doing that. However, if you've already gotten all of the bonuses for a ship, if you look at the top of the screen, there's a little track right there. The more we break down the ship, the more that meter fills up, and when it hits those little hash marks labeled with 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, as it hits those little hash marks, we get bonuses that allow us to level up our character. And so anyways, if you've already hit level 7 in the case of this ship, and you feel like it's worth it to start breaking down consoles in order to get some parts for your spaceship, by all means, go for it. But I don't tend to break things down very much. If you're wondering why I'm cleaning up the trash, even though it doesn't give me money, this game is chock-a-block with hidden achievements and hidden stickers that you can put on your equipment and whatnot to, like, customize it, and you get them for, like, you get them for all kinds of random things, like how many food packs have you burned, even though you didn't need to. Oh, another piston. Nice. Sweet. Take that. Hell yeah. We do want to get that off right there because that's worth about $100,000. We do want to get the atmospheric regulator because, once again, $100,000. Easy peasy, a lemon squeezy. I think we've got most of the stuff off this little sidecar right here. So I'll go ahead and do these cut points real quick. There we go. And this should now be fully detached from the main hull. So we can just drag it on into the processor. Off, and away she goes. Was there a... Oh, it turned. I don't know if there was an airlock console on that right there.
Processing valuable deposit. Credits transferred.
I think we're good. I think we're okay. The canopy goes in the furnace. Okay, we'll send that over to the furnace then. There we go. Off you go to the furnace, my friend. I shall see you in the hot country. We're going to grab this little airlock console right here. We're going to throw that right there because we don't need it anymore because that's open to the atmosphere. And now what we want to do is we want to disassemble from the front to the back until we get to this pressurized cabin right here. And then we're going to depressurize it. And then we're going to depressurize that cabin after we fully disassemble this chunk right here. And everything should be okay, I think. We should be fine. O2's looking okay. Oxygen's looking okay. Even if it wasn't, I've got an upgrade right now that allows me to refill my oxygen from pressurized cabins. So, like, meh. We're about to go into a pressurized cabin, so, like, who cares?
Airlock depressurizing.
Thank you, AI. I appreciate that. At the top of the screen, you'll see a 5-minute marker. Your shift is limited in duration. And so anyways, that's Weaver right there. He's one of the storyline characters. He's basically our supervisor. Seems like a reasonable enough nice guy. My concern is that this door right here is going to close when I do this. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Okay. Turn the air back on real fast.
Pressure level increasing.
There we go. Is there a atmospheric regulator in here? There is not. Okay, we'll close this off.
Airlock pressurizing.
Well, okay, let's get this thing open to space first. Ooh. Okay. I thought that that was going out and into space. It was not. It was going out into the subflooring and hull. Okay. However, we do have an access point now where we can get out, so that's good-ish. I'll go ahead and open you up too because there's no reason not to now. And now that we've depressurized this area, what we can do is we can go back around to the other side and we can depressurize this area so that accidents don't happen while we're cutting. Because as fun as it sounds, I don't like being thrown across the yard at 400 meters per second by, explosive decompression and then slammed into a wall and having my face converted into a pancake. I would rather not do that today. That does not sound like an appealing idea to me at all. So, like, my first shift is usually just making the ship totally safe. Alright, so we'll depressurize this area. And now that we're depressurized, we'll open this up. And there we go. The front half of the ship has now been drained of oxygen somewhat safely. This was a little bit sketchy, what we did over here. But, like, there's really no way around it. It's just kind of what happens. Let's get some of these cut points so that on tomorrow's shift, we can get a whole bunch of work done. And we can basically just spend the entire shift hauling parts into the processor. So basically, if I see a cut point, I'm just going to hit it real fast. Your laser does overheat, so keep an eye on the little meter that's on the side of the gun. If you overheat it, it will light you on fire in the vacuum of space. Don't ask me exactly how that happens, but it does. The game kind of hand-wavingly explains it as this area has a micro-atmosphere, but I'm not quite so convinced. If you remember, this is the stern of the ship right here. So this is the little horn that's on the top of the nose cone. Staying oriented inside the ship is a really good idea, and it just comes with experience. This game is a learning experience, so if you die a lot and you make a lot of mistakes, don't really worry about it too much. Like, as long as you learned something from it, not that big of a deal to die. It costs you a little bit more debt, but like, man, unless you're playing on the hardcore modes, like, doesn't really matter. Make mistakes, try things out, learn how the systems work by failing if you have to. It's totally fine. Now let's go ahead and pop off the nose cap here. There we go. Nose cap should be off. Yes, in fact, things are drifting away right now. Good. I'm going to go ahead and detach all these right here. Your laser does have multiple firing modes. You press the laser button again, you get a Dead Space style line cutter. The line cutter, I use it sometimes, but not very much. I use the line cutter for very specific things, but usually I prefer the precision of the normal laser. All right, airlock's almost off. We got 1 minute left in the shift. Go ahead and put that over there. What did I just vaporize? Oh, it was a cut point. Good. Sometimes I vaporize things on accident, and that's not a good thing, and then the boss gets mad at me. He gets very, very frustrated with me. All right, get down in here. This is the subflooring right here for that area we just depressurized, in case you've lost track of where we are. 20 seconds left in the shift. What is that? Nuts and bolts just floating around? Strange. Alright, whatever. Apparently it's not lootable, so I'm not going to worry about it. Couple seconds left for the cutting here. I believe we've got one more binding up top, but I don't think we're going to make it. Yeah, that's the end of our shift right there. So this one's going to be kind of a multi-day journey. We didn't make too much money today. I mean, kind of. Well, we've made $3 million, okay? But, you know, kind of respective of the fact that we're 1.1 billion credits in debt. Like, 3 mil is not that much. We didn't even hit our first salvage threshold. And so we didn't get any XP, and we didn't get any upgrade tokens. So we'll just stick with it.
Good morning, Cutter.
Good morning.
It's time to begin your workday.
All right, so that's the new poster that we can put up inside of our hab. And it looks like we got a new sticker that we can put onto our tools. Stickers, that's right, and the stickers do come in holographic quality as well. You can get holographic stickers if you stack up like 3 or 5 of the non-holographics. Just to kind of like visually show your progress and let you customize your gear. Nothing to do inside of here for right now because we didn't get any XP or anything because we haven't hit any of our thresholds. So let's get back to work. We need to buy some thruster fuel real fast. As you can see, our meter's a little bit low. Probably some more tethers, probably some more demo charges. Although this one did it. Oh, it does have an ion ring on the back. Yeah, so with the ion ring on the back, we're going to have to take care of that. I need to pull this horn right here. I need to give this like a little friendly toot toot. There we go. There we go. That's out, so we can send it to the processor. And then we need to get this bottom horn off, because that's going to allow us to slide this cage back and off. This right here is going to be a little bit of a risky maneuver. You can cancel out your tethers with the Y key, by the way, if you need to reposition something, but the only thing you can anchor it to is like the barge. You can kind of pull off some cool maneuvers that way. I think the cage is free. I think. We'll just YOLO it. Yes, the cage is free. There we go, not bad. We're probably going to process this later once we've got this entire thing taken care of, because getting it around the horn and into the processor with the rest of the ship still intact is going to be kind of a pain, and I just don't feel like dealing with it. But we can't get the nose cone off, so we'll go ahead and take that over to the... Oh. Actually, I'm going to have to move the nose cone around. I can't get that angle. All right, nose cone, go that way. And into the processor with you. Over here, I believe this entire solid chunk will pull that towards the wall so that I can get a better angle on the processor. This guy here will do the exact same thing. That guy's ready to go. So we'll put him into the processor. This one didn't pull far enough. So we'll let it pull a little bit farther. There we go. And then we've got power cells and things we need to pull over here too. That one's headed towards the processor, so it should get sucked in. Both of these portals have their own kind of like built-in suction. The exception to that is the barge. The barge does not suck things in, but both the processor and the furnace suck things in. And so it shouldn't be too hard to get things where you want them to go. There we go. And so we are starting to throw paneling up and on into the processor pretty rapidly. It's looking good. Hopefully that tether doesn't break. This is a half ring. So what I would like to do with the half ring is we're going to pull it back over towards this buoy. And then we're going to pull that guy down to the barge. And once they've both got a little bit of clearance, we'll send that one over to the processor. And that should be another stack of credits. I still think there's some cutting we need to do inside of here. But let's pull this power cell right here because this is a big ticket money item. You want to get all those if you can. We have a airlock console. I already pulled the keys off of it, so that's fine. We can send that to the processor as well. We just hit tier 1 completion, which is great. That means we finally banked some XP and we finally banked some upgrade tokens. Go over there. And we're going to cut that little piece right there. Get things free floating. I think we still had an attachment or two up here as well that we needed to play around with. And this is really like the zen of this game, is that like it's a game that requires you, like you have to think about it. It's a game that requires some brain power. Like, you're going to have to think about how to solve problems when you're playing this game. But at the same time, a lot of the in-between problem-solving stuff is pretty rudimentary and just comes down to, like, simple observation. And so it's a very, very easy game to just kind of zen out and, like, not pay attention, basically. And then eventually you'll get too comfortable not paying attention. You'll blow yourself up. And then at that point, that's when you'll kind of, like, buckle back up and be a professional again. Let's go ahead, but it's a very easy game that I've found to relax to. Like, this is one of those games that really takes the edge off like a hard day because it's, you know, it's high stakes, but most of the activities you're doing are actually fairly simple until you get to the complicated stuff. The complicated stuff being the reactor, in my opinion. The reactor is going to take a little bit of doing to get out of there, but it's worth like 5 million credits if you can get it out. And so you definitely want to get the reactor if you can. Airlock goes to the barge there. Are they? Alright, I'll deal with that in a minute then. Take that down there. Oh yeah, I've only got 5 tethers left. Lame. Alright, well, once we get the front half of the hull off, we'll go back and resupply. We'll take that over to there. I was going to say, is that detached? Sometimes it's not detached, and it'll try to pull the whole ship into the processor, and that's when you do a big moment of capital K panicking. Let's see here. This is detached. Yes.
Deposit accepted for processing.
Need you to pull downwards a little bit. Okay. And then you can pull over to there. And then we've got another power cell that we have found. We've got another console over here.
Salvage deposited. Applying credit.
Power cells used to be a much bigger deal in the earlier access. Now power cells are just kind of like, meh. But in the early access, the power cells were worth a lot of money. Now they're like, you know, I don't know who I am to say $100,000 is not a lot of money. Like, it is a lot of money. But, like, it's just with respect to everything else on the ship, they're not worth quite as much as they used to be anymore. Like, honestly, I think with this... Oh, there is a data drive down here. Very nice. So we can actually defragment that, fix it, and get it going. Pull the airlock right there. Throw that on in there. And actually, we may have to have some fun with the line cutter here before we go any further.
Credits transferred.
Yeah, seems possible. Let me see what I can detach over here, though, first. If we can get this cage off, I feel like we'll be in better shape. Honestly, I'm just stalling so that I don't have to deal with the coolant tanks. The coolant tanks are sketchy. And occasionally you will come across weird bugs where like you'll be lasering something in front of you, but the thing behind you will explode. I'm not sure if that comes like due to how the character model exists inside the context of the gameplay area, but sometimes I've gotten the feeling that the laser doesn't come from in front of your character as an entity. It comes from your character's chest or something like that. Because every now and again when I'm around explosive objects, something behind me will blow up, even though my laser wasn't touching it like at all. And that's just like my best guess as to what's happening. It sucks when that kills you, but once you're aware of it, you start cutting a little bit differently just to avoid the issue coming up. Okay, so most of that should be free. We got the cut tab right there. We didn't get the cut tab right there. There we go. And there's one final cut tab we've got to deal with. Perfect. All right, so that cut tab is done. This actually right here should be fully detached now. And so what I'd like to do is we're going to cut off this panel so that I can get all the computers and stuff out of there. Actually, that's not going to work. We're going to want to cut this panel, I think. So let's do it. Cut number 1. Cut number 2. Cut number 3. Cut number 4. Out comes the wall. This is just going to the furnace. So we'll throw that over there. And now we can pull all of the goodies out of this little area right here, this little engineering deck. And we can get paid for all the computers and stuff without bumping them against the walls and breaking them. So there we go. Little battery pack right there. Definitely take that. Oop. Battery pack. Don't leave me. There we go. Pull out the storage bins. There we go. Watch out for those pipes right there. Those coolant and those, the coolant and the heating pipes, the fuel pipes. They're a lot heavier than they look, in case you didn't know. They are quite chonky. Oh, I'm out of tethers. All right, let's go refill our oxygen and our tethers. We got stuff to accomplish anyways. One thing I really like about this game is how you can use the push and pull of your gun to actually move your character too. Once you get used to it, it's actually pretty sweet flying around like a bird, basically, and like knowing how to control your character and how to end up where you want to be.
5 minutes left till we call her a day. We were out.
Okay, so you're going to the processor. We got a little bit of progress done today, but it wasn't like a hugely money-filled shift, unfortunately. Yeah, you pull out this way because I just don't feel like dealing with you.
Credits transferred.
And then I'll grab you, and we'll give you a little push right there and get you into the processor. Table right here can be pulled, and that goes to the Fernacci. So I'll just kind of send it. There we go. Throw the atmospheric regulator on the barge. Grab the airlock console. And I think we're good here. I don't really pull the lights. They're not worth enough money to be worth it. And I don't really pull the ladders either for the same reason, in case you're wondering why I don't do that. I'm just, lazy. Really what you have to think about in this game, and this is what I was trying to explain to people on stream, is that, like, you have to think of it in terms of cost effectiveness a lot of the time, too. Like, does the 6,000 credits you got per light pulling it really matter in the greater scheme of paying off your debt if it cost you an extra shift to do all of that, and you accrued, like, $500,000 worth of debt, while you were working on that? Oh, I need to get that air filter off. Hold on, I forgot there was an air filter attached to this. That's one of those new items that they added since the last time I played the game that I always forget about. There we go. Pull the air filter.
Don't do that.
And off and away she goes. A little bit off trajectory, but she'll be fine. The air filter's worth a lot more money than you think it's worth. Don't sacrifice the air filter if you can help it. Air filter, you still headed down that way?
Deposit
Oh, I thought the air filter was worth like 200K. I guess not. All right, well, now we can pull this entire chunk of the hull over that way. Oh, please, God, don't hit the coolant tank. Okay, it didn't hit the coolant tank. We're good. We're going to need another tether right there because this is actually pretty heavy, and we don't want it spinning. We want it to head over that way, like, stabilized. And so there you go. We've got, like, the front third of the ship off. Not too bad for a day's labor. But this is one of those ships that's probably going to take you about 4 shifts to get taken apart, unless you're just, like, ruthlessly efficient. Get this airlock right here. Throw that on the barge. But yeah, I think this game has a lot in common with, like, Viscera cleanup detail. If that kind of, like, mundanity simulator type stuff really resonates with you and, like, really, you know, you find yourself enjoying doing, like, little repetitive tasks with a little bit of puzzle solving and figuring out, like, how the ship actively works, I think this game has a lot in common with Viscera cleanup detail. This is not a game that's going to be appealing to everybody, but it is a game that I very, very much like. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's really enjoyable. It's not, like, pulse-pounding fun, but it is fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the kind of, like, game that gets the dopamine, like, well, it does, actually. It's not the kind of game that gets your adrenaline going and kind of, like, you know, gets you, like, nodding your head, like, getting on into it, kind of Doom 2016 style. But instead, it's a much more insidious kind of dopamine release. The kind of dopamine release you get from just kind of like a job well done, I guess. I don't know how to describe it other than that. Let's pull these coolant tanks. Hopefully they don't blow up. Oh, that got a little bit rattly. I'm being a little bit haphazard right now with how I pull these. I'm being kind of lazy. I might get punished for it. Each coolant tank is apparently worth 150K, and the pod clamp is worth 70, so we're getting about 200K out of each of these. Very nice. This internal ring is going to be kind of a headache to unseat, but I've done it before, and I'll do it again. What I like to do is I like to work ships front to back usually, because if you accidentally detonate the reactor, a lot of value gets destroyed. So if you already have the ship like 90% disassembled and then you go for the reactor at the end, the worst thing that happens is you lose the reactor. Off and away we go. A little bit more cash money, Gouda Guap cheddar stacks. That guy might hit the side of the barge. He did, but it wasn't too bad. It was fine. Okay, so we've got bottom coolant tanks right there. Man, I gotta pull all these pod clamps. That's gonna take forever. That's a lot of pod clamps. These industrial ships, man, they are just honeycombed with random little objectives you've got to fiddle with. So anyways, this is Hardspace Shipbreakers. I hope you guys liked it. I hope I did a pretty good job at kind of introducing you to the game. Potential issues I see coming up during the course of playing this game. Like I said, it's like 97% bug-free. But you will occasionally get exploded by weird inconsistencies with the pressure system. Occasionally weird stuff will happen, like something exploding behind you even though you were lasering straight to the front with no laser on object contact. But the vast majority of like the 40 hours or so that I've spent with the game, there's only been those situations happening once or twice. So it's really just kind of like a limited worry that once it happens to you once, you move on. I do hope that they get bug patched and polished up, though. The storyline of this game has been entertaining for me so far, if somewhat predictable. It's your standard fare, spacefaring, dystopian type stuff. As far as the options menu goes, let's go ahead and take a look at that real fast so that you guys can see what options are available and what things are inside those menus for you to interact with, because I know for some people there are kind of like deal breaker things in the options that drive them crazy. So inside gameplay options, the game does support controller input, in case you were wondering. Screen shake can be toggled. That's good. That's a check in a box. You can play HUDless if you want, which seems kind of interesting. We've also got the object outline right here. You have the ability to disable the visor of your helmet effect if you want to, just in case you wanted to get rid of that. You can change the size of the subtitles, which is good for accessibility. Data collection, that's one of those things that I'm not a big fan of. You can enable it or disable it. I didn't see it in here until just now. As far as your key mapping goes, you are fully key rebindable. You can invert the X and the Y axis, which is actually kind of interesting. Controller sensitivity, mouse sensitivity, roll sensitivity, it's all in there. Video options, It looks like we more or less kind of limited right here, unless there's advanced options around that I'm just not seeing. But anyways, you do have the standard fare stuff, resolution options, windowed options, full screen options, VSync for in case you've got a asynchronicity happening in between your monitor and your graphics card that's causing tearing, HAB screen effects, you can play around with those, texture quality, dynamic light ranges, dynamic shadows, graphical qualities, anti-aliasing, just in case you're interested in any of those things. But this menu right here does not scroll, and so there could be a few more things in here, things such as anisotropy, an FOV setting I think would be really good because people playing inside certain FOVs experience motion sickness, and they've got to get that equalized with the way that they perceive the world. Otherwise, playing video games can be pretty uncomfortable. So I would recommend maybe getting an FOV in here somewhere. Audio, they've got a fairly decent split right there. It's not too bad. In fact, what I'll do is I will take this out to the main menu, and we'll see if actually the graphic options expand when we go out to the main menu, because sometimes that's a thing where in-game you can only adjust certain things, out of game you can adjust other things. No, it looks like we've got the exact same menu over here for the graphics options that we had previously. So yeah, just little things like maybe a little bit of anisotropy control for the player, and then FOVs I think are like the big things to kind of throw out there. The game does come with a number of difficulty options for pretty much every player. There's an easy mode where death doesn't matter, and it's basically just there for the narrative and the storyline, so you can check that on out. There's like a standard mode, and there's hardcore modes and things of that nature. And so they've got that covered. A lot of the voiceover stuff has like audio or like text-to-speech, where it'll actually speak what the audio says inside of data logs and stuff like that. So there's like a number of accessibility options that have been added to this game that I think are pretty good. And there's a number of different gameplay modes, from the career to free play. There's racing, where you actually compete on a pre-built ship to see who can disassemble it the fastest, with leaderboards and everything else that go across with that. I have actually, this is kind of done post-commentary here, but I have beaten the game now in between the recording of this video and it being out, which is always a good sign because I felt compelled to finish the game. But I do have some thoughts about the title. The game is largely really good. I liked it a lot. The storyline is a little bit ham-fisted, and I think it could have been done in a little bit more of a nuanced way, but ultimately it's a game about dystopian shipbreaking where you're the property of the company and you can only buy things from the company store. So like, you would expect something like that to be a little bit ham-fisted. Nonetheless, I feel like the audio was well delivered and the voiceovers were really well selected. I liked the characters. I found most of them to be likable. Aside from that though, things you need to be concerned about with this game. The pressure system does still have like bugs that exist inside of it due to limitations of the engine. Occasionally you're going to try to get creative with draining the pressure out of like a cabin, and you're going to learn that that just simply cannot be done due to the way that the game is rigged up. And that's just kind of like the way that it goes. That's, you just kind of have to live with that. So you're going to come across some weird things that happen from time to time with the pressure system, despite like logic. And then the other thing is that the game does have some performance issues, especially when you're playing around with bigger ships that have a lot of doodads inside of them. I tested it out on both of the computers that I use for work, and both of them, one of them is kind of like a mid-level and the other one is this computer, and both of them kind of struggled with like the bigger, larger ships. You are going to see some frame dips in there, so there's still some optimization yet to be done. Still, nonetheless, I did find the game to be largely enjoyable. I got about 35 hours out of it, and I was moving through at a pretty fast clip. Like, I did a lot of the secondary stuff, and I did all the storyline stuff, and I didn't really dither for too long. Like, I basically ended the game exactly when it allowed me to end the game, and it worked out all right. Like, I was satisfied. I felt like the game did not outstay its welcome. The only additions that I think the game might actually need is just a few more ship types, in all honesty. I think there's only like 4 or 5 ships, like hulls, and they have differences in kind of like the internal layouts. Of note that I really liked were the ghost ships. I wish there was a lot more ghost ships in the game. And so anyways, just a few more hulls I think would have been nice, just for a little bit more variety. But by and large, this is a pretty solid product. Like, I liked it. It has some performance issues. It has some weird things that happen with the pressure system and occasionally the physics. But by and large, it's a very, very good game. And it knows how long it is, it knows the depth of its own content, and it kind of lets you off the hook right around the time when you're starting to get bored with it. So anyways, my name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we had Hardspace Shipbreakers. Tomorrow, we will have something else. Thank you for hanging out with me. That's all I've got. Take care, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.